Okay. So first of all, welcome. Thank you, Moshe David and Meir for being willing to do this with me. And we are looking here at two Mishnayot, or one Mishnah, depends. Different ways of counting the Mishnayot in different editions of the Mishnah. We're looking here at, in many ways, this Mishnah comes as a continuation of the Mishnah which you studied last week with my son, I think, with Rabbi Yair. And maybe also a continuation of all the different Mishnayot which you've had for some time. We'll go into that later. Also, it's both a continuation of topic, of theme, but it's also a continuation, chronologic continuation. We're talking about here one of the greatest rabbis who was Rabbi Tarfon, who lived at the end of the first century. He was still serving. He was a Kohen, and he was still serving at the time of the temple as a very young man. There are different stories about that. And he was a student of some of the greatest rabbis of that generation, of the end of the temple time and the beginning of the time of Yavne. If you remember, we're talking about big teachers like Rabban Gamliel. Well, there's an echo on this. Rabban Gamliel also partly studied with people from the house of Bet Shammai, and one of his main teachers was Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, who you might remember, he was the one who established the big Torah Learning Center in Yavne. And you've read now all the previous Mishnayot, you've read where his, let's say, his 5 students who were the rabbis of the previous Mishnayot, and Rabbi Tarfon was also a student of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai in Yavne. And he then moved to the town of Lod, where he established, it was a very big Bet Midrash there, and he was the greatest of the rabbis there. And he became also amongst his students, his most famous student was Rabbi Akiva, who was a student of his, but became so great that he was called like both a student but also chaver, like Talmid chaver, and Rabbi Tarfon had many characteristics. I'll just mention just a few of them who were very famous. He was very wealthy. He was very tall. He was very generous. It said that he continued like what was done in the temple when you gave gifts to the Kohanim. He continued to receive as a Kohen gifts in order to be able to give a lot of charity. There were all kinds of stories of all the charity he gave to the poor, how he used his kahuna to give a lot of charity. He respected all human beings, every single human being, Jewish and non-Jewish, every single human being. And again, a lot of different stories about that. He respected a lot his students. He encouraged them to ask a lot of questions, which we're not very good example for here in our framework here, because we don't have so much time. So there's not so much time, although we do encourage you to ask questions, but there's not that much time here. He always encouraged them to ask questions and put himself down in order to say, my students are greater than I am. And it wasn't a false modesty. He was known for his modesty. The most famous story about him, again, there's lots and lots of stories, but amongst the children here, the most famous story about him was for his utmost respect for his mother, how he respected his mother. There's a story which has been made all kinds of YouTubes about, and you can find it, and children's stories and so on, that she was, when she became an older woman, she was walking out in probably in mud and so on a Shabbat, and her shoe, kind of sandal, was the lace broke, and she couldn't fix it on Shabbat because it's not permitted to fix it on Shabbat. And Rabbi Talfon was there for her, and he put his hands down in front of her legs for every step down in the mud, so that she could step instead of stepping on the mud, because she had no shoes, so she could step on his leg until she was safe at home and to her bed, and she came safe home. So this became like a model of how you should treat your parents, how you should honor your parents. And finally, I'll just mention that he was called Avihen Shel Israel, the father of all, Avihen Shel Kol Israel, the father of all of Israel. And other versions, it was called Rabban Shel Kol Israel, the rabbi of all Israel, or the father of all Israel, because he was really preoccupied with the well-being of every single person, and this was therefore the title, the honorary title, which he was called later. And of course, lots of things can be said about the contents of his Torah. His Torah was immense in all fields of the Torah. He was an expert. Usually, you have one field which you have an expertise in, but he was an expert in all the different fields of Torah, which also characterizes a little the Mishnah, which we will go into now. This was a short introduction about the personality. It's interesting. This Mishnah comes, I'll just put it also into that context, because there's an expression here from, it's also not only an expression which is the same as the expression which was in the previous Mishnah, but we'll see it also in the content, but also because he was so connected as a student of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, which all the previous Mishnayot were, but really the next Mishnah, which some say it belongs to the second chapter of Pirkei Avot, and some have it as the first Mishnah of the third chapter, should really have come before this Mishnah. You will learn that next week. It should have come before because chronologically, the one who teaches that Mishnah, Akavia ben Me'alel, he was earlier than Rabbi Tarfon. But because in context, both chronologically and in subject, he was close to Rabbi Lazar, who taught the previous Mishnah. That is why this Mishnah comes at this place in the order of Pirkei Avot. That's it for now. I have a lot more, but I will hold my breath now.
Okay. Thank you very much for this introduction about Rabbi Tarfon, and shalom to all of you, to Rabbi Moshe David and all our friends that are listening here now. It's a pleasure to return again to you. I would like to please Rabbi Moshe David to get on the screen these two Mishnayot. Okay. Just a moment. Okay.
And is it pulls up? Can you see it now? Is it okay?
Yeah.
I do
Okay.
see. Yes, yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay, so I'll read it, please. Rabbi Tarfon said, "The day is short." There's an echo. The day is short, the work is plentiful, and the laborers are indolent, and the reward is great, and the master of the house is insistent. Insistent is a bit weak word, I think, here. Anyhow, this is the first Mishnah. It uses kind of pictures. It speaks about the day being short, and it means that the life is short. The work is plentiful. According to what we see in the next Mishnah, this also probably speaks about the study of the Torah. And the laborers are indolent. That is, we, the human beings, are lazy and we don't study enough. But you should know that the reward is great, and the master of the house is insistent. That is, he sort of forces us more or less to do what we should do, that is to study the Torah. So on the one hand, the day is short, our life is short. On the other hand, the amount of Torah that should and could be studied is very, very great, and we are not sort of good enough, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu tries to get us to move and to do what we should do about studying Torah. That's the first of these two Mishnayot. And then he, that is Rabbi Tarfon, used to say, "It is not your duty to finish the work, but neither are you at liberty to neglect it." That is, you don't have to finish it. Lo alecha melacha ligmor. There is so much Torah, but you don't have to finish it. It's not your duty to finish it all. But on the other hand, you can't say, "I'm free from it all." That you can't say. Could we please get some more text? Thank you. If you have studied much Torah, you shall be given much reward. Faithful is your employer to pay you the reward of your labor. And know that the grant of reward unto the righteous is in the age to come, in the coming world. So here he stresses very much that there is a reward for studying, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is faithful to pay that reward, but it is in the coming world. These are the two Mishnayot. I would like to put a question, and that question doesn't sort of take care of all the parts of the Mishnah, but you will soon see what I'm heading at. My friends, you get a feeling that these two Mishnayot differ perhaps not a contradiction, but let's say that the melody is different. In the first one, there is some kind of harshness. Life is short. There is a lot of hard work to be done. One is lazy, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu almost forces us to learn. That is the first Mishnah. The second one, the tune is much more calm and friendly. True, you can't be free from it, but you don't have to finish it. I would say almost take it easy. And these are two ways of saying your connection to study in a very different way, I think. I'll tell you a short story about this. There were two students studying in yeshiva, and they came to the Rosh Yeshiva, Rav Tzvi Yehuda Kook Zatzal, and they were very unhappy. And they told him that the last month, they didn't study anything almost. And they were very sad and upset about this. And the old rabbi smiled and asked them, did you really not study anything? Nothing? Didn't you even study a chapter of Mishnah? Yes, we did. No, very good. Because it says in Pirkei Avot, and that is our Mishnah, it is not your duty to finish the work. And he quoted this Mishnah. He sort of wanted to tell them, okay, you don't have to be nervous about not having studied more and more and more and more. One parak of Mishnah is also good. It's not your duty to finish it all. At least he used this Mishnah to say that that's the idea of the Mishnah. And therefore I feel that these two Mishnayot they don't speak the same language. It's perhaps not even the same idea. And if Rabbi Michael agrees, if I turn to you, if you would react to that, or you want me to start, up to you.
Maybe we take away the Mishnah and see all the people.
Okay, very good. Okay.
We have
human beings are nicer than text.
We have a full gallery of people here.
Yeah.
Maybe it's difficult for people to understand how you can say the day is short when it is so long now in the Nordic countries.
That is also short.
Can you please repeat the question?
I can repeat it again. What I said was that I feel that the two parts of the text speak a different language. They differ. The first one seems to be very harsh with you, that you should know that your life is short and there is much to study in the Torah. Get going. Don't be lazy. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu he's the balabait, and he forces you almost that you should study. Whereas the other one says, it's not your duty to finish it all. Oh, you can't be free from it, but it's not your duty. And I feel it's not the same way of putting it.
Even more, not only you are lazy.
Yes.
You are lazy.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So we have a raised hand. David has raised his hand, please.
Oh.
No, it's me. Yes, I would like to know what you mean about day reward in the day to come. What does it mean?
Now, that is a very important question, but that's perhaps we could say something about it, but it's not our main theme tonight, and we really don't know what to answer you anyhow. But so I would like to leave that aside. Perhaps if there will be time afterwards, I can deal with it. I hope you agree and understand me, because that is such a great subject. Okay.
So we have some raised hands. Michael, I think you raised your hand first, and then Paulina.
Me first?
Yes, please.
Yes. You know, I don't know if what I'm going to say it's what you're looking for, but it's when they talk about study in Norwegian, they have a sentence that they say in Norwegian, it's frihet under ansvar. It's like you are free to do to study your way, but you have the responsibility to study in the same time. So if you combine those two Mishnayot, maybe you get something similar. I don't know if it's
Okay, that's nice. That is, you sort of you create a picture that combines the two of them, and responsibility, but still okay. Thank you.
Yes, Paulina.
Yes, I was just thinking when I look at the text that the one says that the day is short, so there's like a urgency for studying, but at the same time, the next says that you are not responsible for all the mending of the world. We're doing the study and the Torah study. We are part of a big whole. So, and you don't know where the end date is, because that is with Hashem. So then you cannot not study, but you are not responsible for all the study because we are all part of that studying of the Torah. Does it make sense?
It does make sense. Yes, thank you. That is, it can't be all on you. It's a too much heavy yoke that it should be all on you. There are more people in the world. Thank you. If anyone else, if you can come in whenever you want, but if not, I hope I didn't miss anyone. I would like to, perhaps Michael.
Well, I'll hear your suggestion first, and then I'll come up
Okay,
with something.
okay, it's okay. I can, yes. Okay. Like every suggestion in these cases, the idea that I'm going to bring, I'm not sure it fits every part of the Mishnah, but I will try to say something. It says in the book of Yoshua, not only shall you study law, but it comes twice here with an echo. It says in the book of Yoshua, study it day and night. That is, study the Torah day and night. And it sounds as if you should study day and night, perhaps 24 hours. But we hear an explanation in the Talmud about these words, study it day and night. And the Talmud says it means reading the three portions of Shema Yisrael, morning and evening. If you do that, then you fulfill studying day and night. Day and night. In the morning, I say Shema Yisrael, Vayayim Shamoa, Vayomer, important principles about the mitzvot and the Torah and Hashem being one. You say that in the morning and in the evening. So you study it day and night. And then it's a minimalistic demand of studying Torah. That is on the one hand. On the other hand, we find many sources saying that you should study endlessly and a lot. And that might be the difference. That is, the first of the two Mishnayot speak about studying a lot, almost studying it day and night, perhaps 24 hours, which you can't do, of course, but very, very much. There's a lot to study, and you should try to study diligently as much as possible. And the purpose of this study of the Torah, which is a question that should be asked, why is it important to study? What's this Jewish idea about studying a lot? And I think much has been said. The purpose of studying at the end is to keep the Torah practically with deeds. And the idea is that by dealing with the theory of the mitzvot, that is studying, and you deal a lot, you ask questions, you answer, you get deeper and deeper into it. Through this studying, you achieve a motivation to fulfill the mitzvot. It becomes a part of you. And the more you study, and the more it becomes a part of you, and the more you are near, or quite near, to being able to do this in practice. And therefore we have like the first Mishnah, saying you should study a lot, because that enables you to keep and fulfill these great mitzvot, parts that you should do and parts that you should not do. And as I said, the second Mishnah is more lenient, and it alludes to a minimum. It's not your duty to finish the work. You should be connected daily with Torah. You can't neglect it. But it is enough to read a very important text, let's say the portions of Kriyat Shema. But then you could ask, what is your duty? The maximum of Rabbi Tarfon, the great idea of studying a lot, or the minimum? What's the duty and what is beyond the duty? An ideal, but not really the duty of studying. And a great rabbi, a giant of Torah, he was called Rabbi Meir Simcha from Dvinsk. I suppose you sort of laugh, because every time we mention a rabbi, and there are quite a lot of them, we say that he was a great rabbi, he was a giant, he was a genius. Are they all that way? I think, I say it in brackets, I think it is as if you would give a speech about classical composers, and then you would say Mozart, the genius, Beethoven, the giant, and so on, because these really are great rabbis, these are giants, and this one that I would like to quote now, he lived in the city of Dvinsk, and he passed away in 1926, and he was a giant. He's very, very impressive what he writes. And he says something I think is very, very important. He says, it's impossible that Hashem would command everyone to study endlessly, since human beings are so different. You can tell everyone to listen to the shofar. You can tell everyone to take the lulav on Sukkot. You can tell everyone not to lie, or to, and so on and so on. But studying, understanding, sitting hours on a text, here there must be there are differences between people. There are people who love to study. They love to study because their parents did it. They are able to study. They like to but there are others who work hours during the day. They are less connected to theoretical ideas and so on. It can't be, he says, that the Torah tells everyone to study a lot. That wouldn't be fair even. So he says the Torah sort of turns to every Jew and Jewess and says, none of you can be free from study. You are all connected, you should all be connected to study. But it can't be that we the Torah, demands the same from all of you, because you are different in the case of study. And he says, do you know what the duty is? The duty is the minimum. He proves it from different places in the Talmud. That is the duty. And above it, beyond it, it's an unbelievable important ideal to study a lot and so on. And everyone should perhaps try as much as he can, but he says it can't be. And therefore, perhaps, I'm not sure Rabbi Tarfon intended to what I say, but perhaps we can use these two Mishnayot to say an idea, and that is, therefore, we have two melodies here. There is one which demands very, very much, something which might fit someone. It might give us an idea of what we should do, whereas the other one sort of says, like the short story I told you before, that, okay, you did something. That is what this Mishnah comes to tell you. You are not obliged to study it all. And I think it's a very menschlich idea to say that, first of all, we have to see who is the address of this demand to study a lot, and that is all of us, me and you and he and she and everyone, and we are different, and therefore it has to be put in a sort of in a different way that almost perhaps creates a contradiction, but I don't think it is. Here I didn't deal with the reward, and not what our friend here asked before about the coming world and so on. I only, well, you saw what I did anyhow. Okay, thank you. Please, okay. Rabbi Michael.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think it was a beautiful explanation, which, as you hinted, I don't think that this was what Rabbi Tarfon meant, but I think it's something which speaks a lot to us, and it can go into, it can give a lot of meaning from the words of Rabbi Tarfon. Maybe I'll try with something else, with your permission, another kind of explanation, which I don't think is so, well, maybe even two explanations, different ones. One from the Abarbanel and one not. First of all, I think we come in with a continuation of what was said before, as I indicated, in both ways. Before, we had Rabbi Elazar ben Arak. He also talked about the intensity of study of Torah, and I'm not going back to it, but the same kind of expression, which is in exactly actually the same words, that we get rewarded for the study of Torah, the intensity of full study of Torah. And Rabbi Tarfon takes it's very much connected. There's a kind of lead from that, saying there is so much Torah to be studied, so much Torah and mitzvot. This is the essence of this world. And we're lazy. People are lazy. And there's a lot of reward to be gotten. But we have a very strict, what do you call it? Our boss, our boss who is who in this world, Balabait. He's the Balabait. He's our boss, and he's strict with us. He pushes us, and this is tough. This is tough because there's Torah and mitzvot, and there's a lot of Torah to be learned, and this is really, really tough. And not only that, but if you don't do it, not only is there not reward, but there's also punishment if you don't do it. So this is really hard. So Rabbi Tarfon says this very clearly in continuation of what his friend said before. And Rabbi Tarfon was somebody who knew a lot of Torah, right? He in all the fields of Torah. So you have to study a lot, and you have to practice a lot and everything. But then he continues, and I don't think that this is, I don't see a contradiction. He says, yes, you have to do that, but sometimes then this can be totally overwhelming. If you think that this is, that the Torah is so great, is so overwhelming, everything, all the mitzvot, all the Torah, all the disciplines of Torah, Talmud, Mishnah, Rambam, Midrash, everything. And you look at the bookshelves and you see everything. And you say, wow, this is so overwhelming. And then he tells you, no, that is not so. That is not so. He gives you comfort. He says, you should do everything you can, but you're human. You're human. So what you can do is what expected of a human. Do as much as you can. You can't finish everything. You're human. There is nobody who doesn't sin. There's nobody who can study everything. And therefore, this is a continuation. On one hand, yes, you have to do everything, and your boss is standing on you and so on. But you're doing everything you can, everything which is possible for you to do. And then you should know that you will be rewarded accordingly. If you have done what you can, then the reward is accordingly. You've done what is in your capacity. You've studied what you can according to the time you have. You've studied, you've done mitzvot according to what you can. And there are all kinds of expressions in the Talmud, all kinds of different places. If you've done one mitzvah completely, then that is fantastic. There's nobody who can't done. It says, Kol Yisrael yesh lahem chelek le'olam haba. Every single Jew has a part in the coming world. How can that be? We're all sinners. We're all doing mistakes. We all do. But nobody hasn't done one mitzvah properly. One mitzvah properly. Of course, we should strive to do all the mitzvot, all of them. But one mitzvah properly, there are all kinds of Talmudic stories about it. I don't want to go into that. One mitzvah properly, do that. So, therefore, if you've learned a lot of Torah, what is a lot of Torah? Not everything. You can't finish it. Nobody can finish it. You can sit and study for 80 years or for 1,000 years and so on. You won't finish it. But you've done what you can. You come to this shiur, you come to this shiur, you put a little time aside when you have, and so on, to study Torah, then you will have a lot of reward. And God, who is your boss, and he's pushing you, yes, but he is also loyal to you, and he will give you accordingly the reward. And this is where also, and I'll maybe answer also that question, if you don't see the reward here, then the reward will be later, coming world. Paulina, you asked about it. So if you can't see the reward immediately, it's not because there isn't a reward. There is a reward, but the reward will come later. It says la'atid lavo, which can be sometimes an expression for the coming world, sometimes expression for the resurrection, or some other expression, or in the future, or somewhere. We don't always see, this is the big issue, which I may have just indicated, which is not our topic today, of sometimes we see that very bad people apparently are doing very well, and very righteous people are suffering. So we don't know exactly how the reward is, but it's in the hand of the boss, and he is loyal that somehow things will be somewhere in the future will be right. And this, you can trust this. If you've done your maximum effort, you can trust this. So it's not a contradiction, it's a continuation. It's a continuation of another side of the coin. Another side of the coin. It's true that this is it's a softer language, because the first part of it is a continuation. That first, it's like when you, I don't know, when you train people, when you train a sportsman or something, you have to tell him to do a better effort. You push him to the utmost. You can't tell him, oh, now you need to, no, you do. But if you've done your utmost and you've done the best you can, then that's your reward. You've done the best you can, and that's it. But you don't tell him first, oh, you can't finish it off. You just do the best you can. No, first you tell him, you have to train, you have to work, you have to do day and night, and this and this and this, and then afterwards you say, well, you really did the best you could, and that's really impressive. That's good. You get reward for that. This is how it is. This is one way of interpreting this. The other interpretation, which I would share with you, is an interpretation which is a whole interpretation of one of the giants of interpreters, the Abarbanel gives, where he puts everything into context of, it's not so different from this what I said now, but he puts the whole of the second chapter of Pirkei Avot, or this part of the second chapter, into the context of the debate between Rabbi Yehuda Nasi and his son, the son of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi and his father, Rebbe, we've talked about him before. He was also called Rabban Gamliel. They had a discussion about how to study Torah. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi said, you should only study Torah, pure Torah. His son, Rabban Gamliel, said you should have Torah with Derech Eretz. You should also learn philosophy and midot and different other attributes and so on. You should learn many different things, different disciplines. You should not only concentrate on studying Torah. Abarbanel says the following. I don't have time to go into the full explanation, but he says the following. He says that amongst the pupils of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, there was a debate about this. So the 5 rabbis who were all the previous Mishnayot, they were all of the opinion of Rabban Gamliel, of the son of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. They said that you go into all the different attributes and philosophy and midot and this. You don't study only Torah. You can study all kinds of different disciplines. And this is fine. We can do that. Comes Rabbi Tarfon and he says no. He decides no. He says, in principle, you might be right, but I decide like Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, although Rabbi Yehuda Nasi lived after him, but this is how Rabbi Yehuda Nasi put together the Mishnah. He said, I decide you need to study, the time is too short. If we have enough time, then we could spread ourselves thin to study everything, it would be good. The problem is the time is too short. We don't have time to go this and do that and learn this. The time is too short. The boss is pressuring us. The time is short. We can't spread us thin. Therefore, we need, in the time we have in this world, we need to concentrate on studying Torah and mitzvot and doing mitzvot. That's not what we need to concentrate on. And even then we can't finish that off either. We can't finish it off, and you should know that we can't finish off, but we can only do parts of it, and that's fine also, to do parts of it, and we will get rewarded if we've concentrated at least on learning Torah. So he decides according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi and not according to the opinion of his son. This is how Abarbanel looks at the whole of the Mishnah. So this was part of the contribution. I would like to add just shortly that some of these expressions in these two Mishnayot have become very popular expressions in modern Hebrew in Israel, in modern Hebrew amongst writers, thinkers. We had the one who recreated the Hebrew language, Eliezer ben Yehuda. He had on his desk a big sign. I have here a picture of it in front of me. I don't think I can show it here. But a big sign which said, Hazman katzar ve'amlacha meruba. The time is short and the work is so large to do. There's so much to be done. He was the one who recreated a dead language which wasn't spoken by 10,000 people, and he made it a living language, the Hebrew language living again. And he started writing the first dictionary of the Hebrew language, inventing many words, and it wasn't finished. He didn't finish it off. It was finished off many years after he died. But he started it, which was again the next Mishnah, that lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, that you can't finish it. But these expressions, hayom katzar v'hamlacha meruba, hapoalim atzelim v'hasachar harbe, lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, that you can't finish off everything. V'lo ata ben chorim libatel mimena, you're not free to to not get going. Don't give up. Don't despair because you think that there's so much to be done. These are very, very popular expressions in Hebrew, which people don't know that they come from Pirkei Avot, from Rabbi Tarfon, and the religious context of it. People don't know the religious context of this, that the Baal HaMlacha is God, and it's, we're talking about the job to be done is Torah and mitzvot. Not, people don't know that, but this is part of the Hebrew language today. I just thought it was interesting also just to mention that.
Thank you very much. Moshe David.
I wanted to mention that I did have a reflection, but we have a hand up for a while as well, so it's always important to. Is it David again? Or?
Yes, thank you very much. It was a very, very interesting discussion, and I was associating with the idea that it's a very, very modern question about this, about how to know the goals. We can have different bosses with expectation, and the difficulty to recognize that we cannot reach all the goals, and even if we don't reach the goals, the life has a meaning and the goal can be done. I think it's very, very, very interesting discussion, and not, I mean, when you work with people who are very much stressed situation, and the feeling that they are feeling that they are not pleased with what they've done, and feeling that they have not reached what they have, they couldn't reach the expectation they have.
They haven't
That,
finished over there.
yes, and I think it has to do very much with humanity. You have been talking, Rabbi Meir and Michael. It was very, very, very interesting.
It was, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would like, please, if to say thank you very much to Rabbi Michael. When I heard your first explanation, which I think it's very good, I got in mind that something that happened to us almost 50 years ago. We studied together in Yeshivat HaKotel, which is in the old city of Jerusalem, and we came with a bus from Talpiot, and then we on foot we walked through Jaffa Gate, and then we walked through the Christian part on our way to the yeshiva. And I remember exactly where it was, exactly, and we had a kind of discussion. I said to you, I think it's difficult to study under pressure, and because man is sort of an autonomy, and it has to come from the person itself on some stage. But it's difficult if someone presses you to study. And you said, no, I can understand that one is able to study under pressure. And we talked about it, and then we went on. And perhaps tonight we pinpointed these attitudes when explaining this, where you stressed more the first Mishnah as being perhaps the main thing here, and the second Mishnah just to calm you down a bit. You don't, it shouldn't be overwhelmed with too much. Whereas I perhaps stressed the second Mishnah as the main thing, and perhaps it reflects what's happened. Then I remember it clearly. Okay.
I think it's fantastic if anyone here says 50 years from now, we were learning Pirkei Avot with the rabbis, and we had a discussion afterwards with my wife, with someone else in the Beit Midrash, and this is what we were thinking about it. I think it shows what we've heard tonight, that Torah is something which really follows us day and night, in whatever aspect, whether we are working, whether we are learning. It's something that is there in essence as a main part of who we are. I had one, our time is up. I just maybe to some have a short reflection that Rav Meir and Rav Michael maybe are blind to the fact, if I may dare say that you're blind to something, that not everyone in the world is a doer like you two are. So you assume that everyone is constantly feeling responsibility and doing. But the fact is that many people are not such doers, and maybe are thinkers or dreamers, or are glad that other people are doing. So in that sense, what you brought forward today really brought together, I think, both aspects, that there's a short push that we get involved more if we're not doing so, but also have the bitachon, to have the trust in Hashem that doing so and what we are doing in life at the end has the support, as we learned tonight. So hopefully we take from this shiur this message, that with all of the different explanations, at the end of the day, we have a job to do here in this world, and we have something special to bring into this world, and at the same time be connected to Hashem in doing so. And Be'ezrat Hashem, may we continue learning for the next 50 years and continue conversing about these Mishnayot as this beautiful model that we have heard from tonight. So thank you, Rav Michael and Rav Meir, for inspiring us, for teaching us with so many different aspects on these two short Mishnayot, and may it be an inspiration, as Rav Michael said, as these become mottos in Israeli society, may they become a motto for us as well in our daily life, from the moment we wake up until we go to sleep. So thank you all for joining today. Thank you to those who brought forward questions and reflections, and Laila Tov, and see you
Laila Tov.
next time.
Rav Meir and Rav Moshe David, can you just stay on for a moment?
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
לילה טוב, תודה.
Thank you, לילה טוב.
Thank you.
Laila Tov, thank you.
Thank you.